the government being involved to make people happy, but they left a lot of stuff out. And that's what Ray Wood uncovers, that stuff. And it completely contradicts their narrative. So they did not want that to go forward. So after the press conference and everyone wanted to talk to me, the news, everything was going on, I'm alleging that they felt they needed to discredit me. I'm alleging that they put Abdul Rahman and Kelly up to discrediting me so that their narrative in the Who Killed Malcolm X documentary would hold water. And I'm also in my lawsuit alleging a conspiracy, because you got to follow the money. Netflix benefits from their award-winning documentary remaining credible. Arc Media benefits from their Emmy award-winning documentary remaining credible. They are taking credit for the two men that were falsely convicted being exonerated solely and wholly, that their documentary was the reason that those men were exonerated. However, if you watch the documentary, you will see that a good portion, I'm going to say almost 80% of the information that's in that documentary was in Manny Marable's book in 2011. Because I read it with Ray.
Nothing at all was revealed in that.
There was nothing new.
Nothing.
So you want us to believe that the district attorney's office was too stupid to pick up Manny Marable's book and read it and make a decision 10, 12 years ago? All of a sudden, because of a documentary, they decide to exonerate these men? They reopen the case. This is my opinion, and I'm going to believe it. I'm going to say it's my opinion. My opinion is they decided to reopen the case because the documentary became so popular that they had to appease us. But you have to remember, 18 months, they did nothing. It doesn't take 18 months to review 50-year-old evidence.
Let me say this. You know, Brother Reggie, when we first started speaking, when you first told me the circumstance of Arc Media, what they wanted, the contract that they wanted you to sign, I said, whoa, that sounds like a catch and kill. And you said, explain that to me. And I did. And I was, you used the language. And
I got that from you. I give credit to you behind that.
Well, praise belongs to Allah. It's a great complaint. And I said, the Netflix documentary is a limited hangout.
Correct.
Now, I want to discuss in a moment Ray Wood's confession as a limited hangout. We have to look at that.
Definitely.
You have a video. Now, there's a video you want us to see.
I want to share what extent Arc Media, Netflix, Abdul Rahman Muhammad, and Kelly went to discredit me. If we want to play that video, brother.
Brother Warren, can we play? Do you need to identify the title of the video for him?
All right. How's everybody doing this evening? This is your good brother Abdul Rahman Muhammad from the Netflix docuseries Who Killed Malcolm X. And I'm here to tell you tonight, categorically, unequivocally, incontrovertibly, the Ray Wood letter is a hoax. It is a fraud. It is a scam. and it is a con carried out by one Reggie Wood, who my guest will be able to tell you is something of a low-life character, a common run-of-the-mill con artist, and it's really,
bottom feeder.
What did you say?
I said bottom feeder.
Bottom feeder.
Wow.
It's, well, you know what gave me suspicion right off the bat is the fact that there was no video. In full disclosure, Reggie did reach out to some of my people, associated with my production team, and
That's Arc Media.
they
and
wanted
Netflix.
me to figure this out, because apparently he saw the series, and like you said, ideas came in his head, and he's thinking, okay, maybe I can get in on the season 2.
Right. Right.
But it smelled like a rat from the very beginning because, right, Reggie Wood is a despicable individual. Okay, he's the worst. He's the absolute worst. Okay, to associate his own kinfolk with one of the most monstrous crimes against the African American community, the assassination of Malcolm X, to implicate his own cousin, his own family, and to try to write him into, that abominable history. Okay, that is the most despicable thing I think I've ever seen, a human being do to their own kinfolk. It's absolutely unbelievable. It's staggering, and it's so unfair to Malcolm's children and his family. It's unfair to the Black community.
Yes.
And it is an affront. It is an affront to our history. And I, for one, am not going to let it stand. However,
stop it there.
there's only one problem.
You said stop it there?
Yeah, she can stop it there. So, and if they want to see the whole video, they can go to Facts Over Feelings on YouTube, and they can watch the whole video if they'd like. So that was Abdul-Rahman Muhammad, the star of the Who Killed Malcolm X documentary. And any man that comes after someone else like that has something to hide and something to lose. And with that, I'm just trying to clear my name. And I know we're going to get into the new evidence that directly states that Ray Wood was at the Audubon Ballroom, which completely contradicts everything that Abdul-Rahman Muhammad has said about me. That is why I'm on this platform today, because it has caused my family to be threatened. It has caused me to be threatened. It has caused me financial burden. And it put me in the hospital because people came out against me based on his word, because people said, and I don't know how they came to this conclusion, that he was an authority on the assassination of Malcolm X.
By he, you mean Abdul-Rahman.
Abdul-Rahman was an authority on the assassination of Malcolm X. And he called me a liar, a fraud, and a hoax. And now, as of the 25th of July, 2023, he needs to get his shoe out of his mouth. That's what needs to happen. And I am, for one, I'm going to push forward on this lawsuit. I'm suing them, Netflix, Arc Media, Abdul-Rahman, and Kelly. She's my cousin. But like my dad said, she jumped in the pool and didn't check to see if there was any water in it. So I am going to push forward this lawsuit. I'm suing them for $100 million, and I'm going to push it until I win. Now, Netflix is so powerful, a lot of attorneys don't want to do it. I am dealing with this pro se, and it has been going on for 9 months, and I still have the upper hand.
Okay.
That's all I want to say about that. I'm done.
And I think
hands
that's good. I think the base that was laid adequately contextualized what we just witnessed and heard. We were able, I believe, to see the motive of our brother Abdurrahman and sister Kelly Wood better.
I mean, you can't leave out Carl Evans, who wrote a book, The Judas Factor, I believe that's the name of it, and that the Ray Wood information proves that he's factually inaccurate.
Wait, again, the audience
He came after me. He came after me.
Carl Evans, author.
I'm sorry, brother.
Author of The Judas Factor, The Life and the Plot, the first edition. This is the limited edition. We have the original, The Judas Factor, The Plot to Kill Malcolm X, and then he came out with a limited edition.
I'm sure he made a lot of money off of those books.
And you're saying that he came after you. Well, what do you mean by that?
He criticized everything in my book. My book.
And this is your book. And Brother Warren, if you will put up the flyer, because I encourage the audience to support this book. We're going to talk about this book. And I want to pivot there. Now, I absolutely encourage the audience to purchase this book and study it. For whatever limitations may be found here, it is absolutely necessary, a necessary contribution to the effort to put the pieces together. We have to interrogate the book, and we will tonight, but it is an important piece to the puzzle. I think everyone interested in this story should get the book, read it, and study it. And so you're saying that Carl Evans criticized the book.
He attacked the book, and he posted something on the Amazon on my book under the comments. He quoted Kelly in the comments, and he also said that my book was too short. Is only 150 pages. But how many pages do you need to tell the truth? To speak facts. I don't need 600 pages of fluff to say what happened. I'm not a scholar. I'm not a historian. I'm just a guy who was burdened with this information and had to live with it for 9 years. So I don't need 300 pages to do this. And the only thing he could say to discredit me was I spelled Ray's father's name wrong. And he pulled out his draft card and all of these things to say that I spelled Adolphus wrong. My sister's name is Kelly, that I grew up with my whole life. That's Kathy. I just called her Kelly. It's Kathy. All this time I thought her name was spelled with a K and found out it's spelled with a C like 10 years ago. So he's saying that I misspelled Adolphus's name, a man that I never met.
Talking about
Ray's father. And the only reason I know who Adolphus is because Ray told me. And when I'm making my notes, I wrote Adolphus the way I thought it was spelled. So Carl Evans took shots at me because these guys want to be the authorities on this. And where did I come from? Where did this guy come from all of a sudden to have this evidence? And then I found out that the reason why they were upset with me is because I didn't check with them first.
The gatekeepers, they have been held up as the gatekeepers of the narrative.
I don't care. I'm supposed to be getting the only thing that I had to do that Ray asked me to do was make sure he didn't take it to his grave. I've never read Carl Evans' book. I haven't read Zach Condo's book. None of that. But yet Abdul Rahman accused me of reading all of these books and taking the information from all of these books and creating this big lie. I appreciate the fact that he thinks I'm that smart, that I went deep. I did a Dr. Wesley Muhammad on him. Okay, and deep dive, 3,000, 5,000 pages, and read it all, and then concocted this story that still holds water.
That ain't Wesley Muhammad.
Years later.
Wesley do the deep dive, but Wesley don't concoct.
I'm saying the deep dive and read everything. I'm not saying you concocted anything. I'm saying that you read everything.
Yes, sir.
So, and then I created this huge lie that changed, that went around the world, that traveled around the world and got everyone's attention and caused exonerations and lawsuits and settlements and all of these things. I created that. Thank you, Abdul Rahman Muhammad, for thinking that I am that genius. I appreciate that. I think I'm a genius, but I didn't think that everyone else did.
So let's pivot. We're gonna now do some deep diving. This will maybe be a more difficult part of our conversation. We're at 2 hours, so I want to go ahead and get into an important matter. In terms of Ray Wood, we want to get into the book. I want you to there's some things I want to ask you about. There's some things I want to share. I want to get your thoughts on my thought that not the book as you wrote it. You wrote a great book. You shared what your cousin shared with you. And as we spoke, you shared some things that Ray shared with you over 9 years, things that didn't necessarily make it in the book, but are very valuable. I want to speak to you, if we have the time, or speak with you about Ray Wood and William 25X Bradley. You got some important insight about that. I want to I would like you to share, if you could, before we go into the confession. You shared something with me that I think is worth sharing here. The Netflix docu-series airs, and Ray Wood watches that docu-series. Is that correct?
That's correct. You've seen it.
And he called you after you called him, but you and him had a conversation about the docu-series. Can you share with us Ray's thoughts having watched the docu-series?
He said that it was a bunch of smoke and mirrors. End quote. Those were his words. It was a bunch of smoke and mirrors. And
did he elaborate? Did he help you? Give you something?
It just felt like they were tiptoeing around what really happened in the assassination, that the police were much more involved in it than what they were saying in the documentary, that they just stood back and allowed it to happen. He knows for a fact that he was directly involved. He knows for a fact that they targeted Khalil Saeed and Walter Bowe, not knowing that Walter Bowe had already left the OAAU. He knows that his job and objective was to get them out of the front of the Autobahn when people were coming in. And people say, oh, Malcolm didn't want any guns at the Audubon. He didn't want to portray that image, but his people were talking and saying otherwise. So as far as the FBI and the NYPD knew, that was their plan. They didn't know what Malcolm's personal feelings were about guns and security at the door. They didn't know what that was. They just knew that Khalil Saeed was given the task of coordinating Malcolm's door security. And Ray didn't realize that how important Khalil Saeed was until he was sitting in that Audubon and those shots rang out.
So we want to unpack that in a minute. You shared with me, and I think it's very important to get it on the record on this platform. Ray Wood and William 25X Bradley. Now, of course, William 25X Bradley is the noted shotgun shooter.
That's correct. The two blasts from his sawed-off shotgun, J.C. Higgins' sawed-off shotgun, actually failed Malcolm. The three other shooters, we'll talk about that, not the two other shooters, the three other shooters that pumped bullets into Malcolm's prone body, they did so because the assassination was intended to be an overkill operation. A spectacular public execution, spectacular in a grand spectacle to deliver a message. But it was a shotgun that actually failed Malcolm. Now, we know that William Bradley was a very important intelligence operative. You have some, because of your conversations with Ray over the 9 years, you have some interesting insight regarding Ray and William Bradley. Can you share that with us? Ray knew that he had seen William Bradley somewhere before. And where he realized that he had seen William Bradley was in the police station when Ray was undercover and being arrested with Herb Collender, when he set Herb Collender up for the arrest, citizens arrest on Mayor Wagner,
the New York mayor.
They arrested Ray along with Herb Collender because Ray was undercover. And while Ray was in the police department, in the police station, he saw William Bradley in the police station moving around like he worked there, like a cop. Ray knew that he was a cop, and he just saw another black officer in plain clothes in there. And so he felt like when he came out from undercover, that's what he was going to do. That's why William Bradley stuck in his head.
And so the next time he sees William Bradley and takes notice is at the Audubon.
At the Audubon ballroom. Ray, when all the chaos went down, when William Bradley unloaded that gun, when he shot that shotgun and he threw it down on the ground, Ray was trying to get out of there. He fell over a chair and looked William Bradley right in the face.
And his words were,
I seen that. Can I say that on your platform?
MFer.
Somewhere before. And later.
And where he saw him before was at the police station.
Was at the police station when he was being arrested.
And as part of his undercover work.
Part of his undercover. He had seen William Bradley before. When he was at the Audubon, he fell over the chairs trying to get out of there. And William Bradley, they met eyes, and Ray took off. He got out.
That's important. That undercover officer Ray Wood is being arrested as part of his undercover operation. He's in the New York police station. He sees this black man, William Bradley. They catch eyes with each other. What do you suspect that catching of eyes signified?
I would think that it meant to Ray, well, what Ray said it meant to him was, what is really going on right now? Why this guy, I know that this guy is a police officer. Ray years later told me when they talked about it on the documentary, that's the guy that was at the police station.
That's what he said to you?
That's what he said.
That's the guy that was at the police station.
Yes, that's correct.
Very, very important. So, Brother Reggie, I absolutely believe that you faithfully conveyed what your cousin shared with you. I don't, in all of my conversations with you, all of my dealing with you, you've always, your sincerity is unquestionable to me. I know a little of how you have and your family. Please give the greetings to your lovely wife, who I was blessed to meet. I know a little of the suffering that you and your family have experienced because you were burdened with these very dark secrets. So I totally trust what you are conveying from your cousin. I do suspect that what your cousin shared could qualify as a limited hangout. And
that is very possible.
I want to get your thoughts on that and share with you some of my thoughts. I want to get your thoughts, but I want to open this section reading something. I think it's appropriate to open this particular section. After your reading of the letter at the press conference, February 20th, 2021. After that, a statement was released by the Malcolm X Commemoration Committee of New York, by its press officer, Zaid Muhammad. Now, I want to read some of it because while the language may be harsh, I think it's important and I think it's relevant. In response to the letter, the confession, the Malcolm X Commemoration Committee published these words. I'm not going to read all of it, but I'm going to read the portion that I would like us to dig into in assessing the confession. We're not assessing you. I believe you stand.
I just read what he wrote.
Right, but I want to read it for the audience. Yes, you talk about, you just read what Ray wrote.
What Ray wrote. Exactly.
That is correct. And we the Black America are benefited by your courageous reading of those words that put you through you in a matrix. This is not your life, that you didn't ask for this. So
My
we
life
thank
was
you
fine.
for it. This is what the Malcolm X Commemoration Committee said in response to the confession letter. Quote, the Malcolm X Commemoration Committee joins with everyone who calls for reopening the case of Malcolm X. However, we are not and will not be among those looking to forgive and have any compassion for the late Ray Wood. We call Wood's confession his, quote, non-confession, end quote, because of the two lies he tells. One, that he was coerced into doing what he did, and two, that he didn't know Malcolm was the target. His confession suggests that he was a novice and wrongly pressured into doing what he did that ultimately had a hand in Malcolm's death. In fact, it is well known that before he infiltrated Malcolm's Organization of Afro-American Unity, OAAU, Wood was an operative who infiltrated the Bronx branch of the Congress of Racial Equality. It is also known that he was not simply an informant in that capacity. He was, in fact, a provocateur, seeking to provoke illegal activity, to set up their leadership for prosecution, in particular, their leader, Herb Collins. There is also evidence that the Statue of Liberty plot, the plan that compromised key men in Malcolm's security, was first floated to the core chapter Wood had penetrated, and that it was Wood who promoted that idea among them. Beyond being outraged by his role in facilitating the assassination with the NYPD's Bureau of Special Services, we are outraged that his confession asserts that he was not, quote, not aware Malcolm X was the target, end quote. It is an absolute insult to all of our intelligence. Herman Ferguson and Yuri Kochiyama, both founding members of Malcolm's OAAU and our organization, have always said that they saw Wood at the Audubon at the assassination and also saw him being aided away from the scene by the police as if he might have been wounded from the shootout that ensued when Malcolm's soldier, Reuben X. Francis, who heroically hit one of the assassins, Thomas Hare, in the melee that ensued after Malcolm was felled by the assassination team. I will stop there. Now, I don't agree that Reuben Francis did anything heroically. In fact, I placed Reuben Francis in the Judas team. I even have doubts as to whether Reuben Francis fired any gun. However, the point here and the sentiment here, I do share in terms of Ray Wood's confession strikes me for reasons that I want to share, strikes me as very partial, very limited. And so I want to give you the opportunity to speak to the question of the likelihood that Ray Wood's role in the events of February 21st, 1965, was beyond what he shared with you that is presented here. He is in what he presented himself to you as we meet him in this book as an observer rather than an active participant in the assassination. What say you to the idea that that was minimizing his actual role, that Ray Wood actually had a more witty and even more active role in the assassination?
I can't speak for Ray, okay, because I can tell you what he has told me. However, I can give you this. At the time of Malcolm X's assassination, Ray had been undercover he had been a police officer for 8 months, undercover the entire time, never sent to training, and never had any formal training or police academy work. So the things that Ray did, according to him and according to other sources, were on a need-to-know basis. So therefore, Ray, once he felt that he was military, first of all, and in the military, from what I understand, because I'm a military brat. I grew up around the military. And in the military, when you're given an order to do something, you do it. You don't ask any questions, or you're court-martialed, or you suffer some consequences. So he carried that over to the police department. And one thing that, and I'm going based on what my relationship with Ray was, and it was more of a caretaker of an older senior citizen. So when I'm sitting and listening to the things that he's talking about and that he's saying, I have to put some balance to that to try to kind of make sense of everything. But him saying that he didn't know that Malcolm was the target was, yes, he was participating in actions that were detrimental to his own people by trying to set up these men in the Statue of Liberty bombing case, but he was under the impression he was setting them up for some other reasons, that they were dealing with the Communist Party, that these things were going on. And he didn't realize until he was sitting in the Audubon ballroom. These are his words. Until he was sitting in the Audubon ballroom and realized that when he walked in there, no one checked him, and there was no one at the door to actually check him. And that's a proven fact. While he was sitting there and everything started going on, that's when he realized that the actions that he took had something to do with the assassination of Malcolm X. While he was in the police car, while he was sitting in that cell, waiting for somebody to show up, and was he being arrested? Was he going to do time behind the assassination of Malcolm X? He didn't know what was going on. Was he being set up in the killing of Malcolm X? That's when he said that, and I'm just speculating from a perspective of a person who's been with him, that has talked to him, and that know him. So was he being set up for the murder of Malcolm X? What was going on? Those are the things that he was saying were going through his head while he's in the cell, while he's going to the police station, listening to the radio in the police band radio, while they're taking him uptown or downtown, wherever they, while he's traveling to the police station and while he's sitting there. Are they going to put this on me? I mean, what's really going on? Why did they send me here? Those were the things that he said to me in intimate conversations that we had, because the same questions that you have, I have. I had those questions for him. Because don't think that I just took everything Ray said and was like, oh, yeah, all right, brother. You my cousin. We blood. It's all good. I was pissed off at Ray for a long time for even involving me in this situation.
I understand that. You're in a very difficult situation. Go ahead.
So them saying that Ray was this expert, he was playing it by ear. Even when he tried to get CORE to do the Statue of Liberty bombing, he was throwing crap against the wall to see what was going to stick. He had only been in the police department for 8 months when Malcolm X was assassinated. He was on a need to know basis, but he was good at what he did and what he was assigned to do. So that would make people feel like he had more to do with it and was more aware of what was going on, that he was an operative. But he was just another nigga working under them. And when he was disposable, he was disposable.
I have to push back a bit there, Brother Reggie, for reasons I will illustrate. Brother, thank you, Brother Warren. First, let me say this. When I read Ray's account, I think of Gene Roberts' account. One reason why I was and am so thankful of what you brought forward regarding undercover bossy operative Ray Wood is because it shines light on the actions of undercover bossy operative Gene Roberts. Now, Gene Roberts told a story throughout the years that he was giving Malcolm mouth-to-mouth resuscitate. Now, Gene Roberts and Ray Wood were colleagues. They with McKinley Welch were the three bossy undercover officers that the bossy chief acknowledged having in the Audubon on that day. Officer Ray Wood, Officer Gene Roberts, Officer McKinley Welch. Gene Roberts has a cover story and has been telling the cover story all these years. His cover story is that he was giving Malcolm mouth-to-mouth resuscitation.
You shouldn't give mouth-to-mouth resuscitation.
But hold on. Before we get there, because that detail loses its thunder without the bigger picture. He claims that, why does he claim to be given a man that he was sent into the organization to target? He says he was given Malcolm mouth-to-mouth resuscitation to try to save his life because he had grown to like Malcolm X.
Okay.
And he wanted to save Malcolm X. Now we know for a fact that this is a lie. This is a cover story. As you were hinting at, we know that the action that he was performing, giving Malcolm mouth-to-mouth resuscitation, was in fact hastening Malcolm's death. Gene Roberts was a Navy medical man. He knew that giving mouth-to-mouth to a victim with open chest wounds caused an air embolism that hastened death. Gene Roberts knew that he was causing a air embolism when he performed that contraindicated activity on Malcolm X. So he was carrying out his duty to target Malcolm and help with the assassination. And this is why Gene Roberts was promoted as a result of his activity at the Autobahn. He wasn't reprimanded because he was trying to save a man that his bosses hated. This is part of the cover story that Gene Roberts tells. In fact, because he did what he was supposed to do, help kill Malcolm, Gene Roberts was promoted. Now, Gene Roberts' colleague, Ray Wood, I suspect, Brother Reggie, he has a cover story too.
Very possible.
And his cover story would sound, in essence, while the details are different, it would have the same effect that Gene Roberts' cover story is. That is, minimize his actual role in the events on that day and sanitize what he knew in terms of what was going to go down. I put this picture up because something strikes me. In the confession letter, well, first, before I get there, what say you about what I just said?
I believe that anything is possible. I can't speak for Ray on that. I really can't, brother. I can go by what he's told me and the information that he's given me and what he's written in that confession letter. Like I said, I'm not a scholar. I did not, other than corroborating the information that he gave, I have not taken a deep dive like you have into, Gene Roberts and his perspective until, I was talking to some people about and it may have been you, about the mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. And I am aware that if you have bullet holes in your chest, you should not give mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. That's 101.
That's 101.
And so I am aware of that. However, going by what Ray has told me and his emotion when he's telling, Ray was a good liar. So it could be true. You're right. It could be true. But I'm not hitching my wagon to, oh, well, Ray said it, so it's the truth. That's not where I'm at.
Right.
Where I'm at is, this is the information that I was given. This is what I'm bringing forward. I have no reason to lie about it. I have no reason to misrepresent it. This is what it is. And if there was an ulterior motive that Ray had in that letter, and it was a limited hangout on his part, very possible. I don't dismiss it because of the other things that I know that Ray was into after the assassination of Malcolm X.
So may I share with you some things that...
Sure.
Now, so I want to be real clear, and you made the point excellently, and it must be continuously reiterated. Reggie Wood has nothing to do with this, what his cousin did. You have the unfortunate circumstance of having been given something by your dying cousin attached to a request of you, but it's a request that really puts you in a difficult predicament.
That's correct.
I'm so thankful personally to Allah that you were willing to share what your cousin gave you. We, the Black community, need what he gave you. And if you did not have the courage and the love for your dying cousin enough to honor his request, then there's critical information that we need that we would not have had. So I have nothing but appreciation for you. Now, of course, we on this side, we have to weigh what your cousin gave you.
Of course.
Our vetting it, our weighing it, says nothing about you. You,
of course,
are providing a tremendous service to the family of Malcolm X, to the Muslim community broadly defined, to the Black community broadly defined. You are doing a great service to us. So none of my questions, none of our questions, none of our pushback is a pushback against you. It's a pushback.
I'm not taking it that way.
Right.
I'm not taking it that way. Don't feel that I'm taking it that way.
Okay.
My perspective on it is I'm putting it out there into the universe, and the chips are gonna fall where they fall.
That is correct.
The information that I'm bringing forward, I risked my life to do this because the more I found out, the more that I knew that I knew that it was dangerous for me to even do this because everybody could blame me. And I say all the time, don't shoot the messenger, because it could have ended up in a shredder and I could continue on with my life like nothing happened. But I felt it was important that the world know what this man had to say, whether it ended up being important or not important. I felt that that it had to be told, and let the chips fall where they may, and the consequences be the consequences. And, a lot of my family disagreed with what I should do. However, I just felt it was the right thing to do. And people coming after me and causing me to go through the things that I'm going through, it's not fair to me.
You're right.
It's not fair to me. I mean, when I travel and I go places, I have to have security. There's a lot of things came with this. A lot of expenses came with just dealing with this, being in a place that's secure and is safe. So bringing this forward was important. But you know what really got me? I don't ask for anything or much, but when those men were exonerated, no one even said thank you. No one said thank you for adding fuel to the fire and to the efforts to get those men exonerated. Because
I say it now. Thank you, brother. Reggie.
6 months after the press conference, those men were exonerated. The DA knew that Ray knew more than they wanted people to know. These men received settlements. Nobody offered to even say, hey, let me get you a cup of coffee. I don't even drink coffee, but it's the gesture of saying thank you for risking your life so that you can be exonerated and your family can be redeemed. The Shabazz family, you just read a document that came from them that's saying that even though he confessed, and they're using that information.
No. What I read wasn't from the Shabazz family. No,
it's from the estate.
No. It's from the Malcolm X Commemorative Committee in New York. That's different. I don't know that
the information that I brought forward
has anything to do with this.
Okay.
This is Zayed Muhammad.
The information that I brought forward, is being used in a lawsuit, $100 million lawsuit against the CIA, the FBI, the NYPD, and the Department of Justice. No one has reached out to say, thanks for bringing that forward. I don't ask for anything. I did what my cousin asked me to do. But don't act like I didn't risk my life to bring this forward. The Nation of Islam is exonerated based on this new information. As far as I'm concerned, and as far as the conversations I've had with Ray Wood, the Nation of Islam did not plan the assassination of Malcolm X. His bosses planned that.
I thank you, Brother Reggie, for what you're doing and the impact is felt, and it is not insignificant. So may Allah protect you, bless you with a successful and fruitful, productive conclusion to this journey that you were thrust upon. If you allow me to share with you reasons why I strongly suspect that what Ray shared with you qualifies as a limited hangout. That Ray likely did precisely what Gene Roberts did, is give some of the story, but not all of it. For example, I believe the evidence suggests that Gene Roberts, the story is Gene Roberts hit the fleeing Talmadge Hare with a chair, made him stumble, and that's why the group was able to grab Talmadge Hare. But there's evidence that Gene Roberts didn't hit Talmadge Hare with a chair. That in fact, Gene Roberts used his .357 that he had on him and shot Talmadge Hare rather than Reuben Francis. But his shooting, whether Gene Roberts and Reuben Francis were doing the shooting, because at least two of Malcolm's men were shooting at the fleeing assassins. There is significant evidence that Gene Roberts was one of the shooters. Yet, in the public cover story, he says he just threw a chair. So I do suspect that Ray Wood's confession does have is a cover. Guilty by omission, not necessarily by commission. I don't have evidence that your cousin necessarily lied to you, but I believe there's reason to believe that he left out his actual role. This is what catches me. So just follow me, and you can jump in at any point, there's three pieces I would like to share. And I'm hoping that some of these would jog, that relates to something Ray said to me, a detail that he said that you may not have understood necessarily the significance of at the time, but maybe one of these pieces will jog your memory and say, that may be what that was related to. I put this picture up because there's a statement in his confession that is very interesting to me. When he says, Thomas Johnson was later arrested and wrongfully convicted to protect my cover and the secrets of the FBI and NYPD. Your cousin does look like Thomas Johnson.
Yes, he does.
He absolutely does. The trouble I'm having, Thomas Johnson was railroaded as a shooter. Thomas Johnson was framed to take the fall for a shooter in the assassination. If Ray Wood was selected by his bosses to be the cover for Thomas Johnson, or I'm sorry, if Thomas Johnson was selected to be the cover for Ray Wood, that suggested Ray Wood wasn't just an observer, because Thomas Johnson wasn't framed to cover for an observer. He was framed to cover for a shooter. And so I have a difficulty accepting that Ray Wood, a spitting image, that Thomas Johnson, a spitting image of Ray Wood, that so much effort would be put in to frame him in order to cover for a simple observer at the Audubon. Did you want to say anything to that or offer anything?
That makes a lot of sense, brother. It makes a lot of sense. Like I said, I don't know everything.
Oh, I know that.
I don't know everything. And the things that you're saying make a lot of sense. That is possible because Ray was very adamant about getting Thomas Johnson exonerated. Very, very adamant. And it's in the letter, in his confession letter. And Thomas Johnson was exonerated 6 months later. So the DA's office and the FBI and the NYPD know that Ray knew more than he knew.
Yes, sir.
And when they talked to me, I told them that I'm going to put it out there, everything that I know. So let the chips fall where they may. But I'm going to have to take a couple of seconds and I'll be right back. Okay.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
30 seconds.
Yes, sir.
Can you pull me out? Brother, this is a marathon. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
No, it's quite all right. Let's continue.
Well, no, you're right. We want to bring it to a close. I do.
But we haven't gotten to the new evidence. We need to touch on that.
Yes, we do.
And your point about Ray and Thomas Johnson is a very good point. I'm almost in agreement with you.
Yes, sir.
Because why was Thomas Johnson arrested? And that was one of the questions, and he always avoided that. So why did they pick him? And he said that they were trying to cover him because the people grabbed him as if he was part of the shooter team or whatever the case is. And when the police came and rescued him, they took him up to the precinct. He said that people recognized him. He made eye contact with people that recognized him. And was that Yuri Kochiyama? Was that Mr. Hassan? People recognized him in the ballroom, and he felt like they would be trying to pin some of this stuff on him. That's why he stayed in the police department. He worked and did what they told him to do for 20 years before he retired. So possible. I can't answer that. And you've known me for a couple of years now. And you know that if it's something that I do not know,
that is correct. I don't expect you necessarily to have any answers to this. I'm not going
to pull something new out of my jacket and be like,
no, I want to present it for all of our consideration because I have not come to a conclusion in terms of what I think Ray Wood's role was. I have not come to a conclusion.
And that is your right to do that and to go deep and to present. And that's why I came on your platform. And if you notice, I haven't been on a lot of people's platforms.
And I'm so honored. I take that as a tremendous sign of respect. I'm honored and humbled.
Because I feel like the Nation of Islam is deserved an apology.
Say that again.
I feel and believe that the Nation of Islam and Minister Louis Farrakhan and your whole organization deserves an apology.
Well,
because of what I know and what Ray told me. And I'm working on a screenplay that nobody wants to touch because it tells the truth in the facts. It rewrites all of the media and the narratives that has been out there for 50 years.
I can't wait to see that on the screen. I know.
And it's going to come because there'll be someone that is bold enough to get behind it. There's someone that's bold enough to put some money. I've been investing my own money into this. And it's important to me after living with this for 9 years. I know that people have lived with it for 60 years, but I've only lived with it for 9 years. But I've had the burden of having direct contact with it, a direct influx of information and emotions and all of these things. And yes, it's a possibility that he could have had more of a role, but he felt enough guilt and remorse to make sure that he didn't take it to his grave. So not just as a family member, but someone that has dealt with him and watched him in his later years here in Florida, living with us, watched him be the humanitarian and try to make up for, because I believe he thought he was dying soon. But the man that I met in 2011, if he didn't tell me and we didn't corroborate everything, I wouldn't have believed it.
Brother Warren, will you put that back up? I'm hoping, because you have, over the course of the time I've been privileged to speak to you, in the course of conversation, you will say something that when it hit my ears, it's big, But it's clear that when you said it, you didn't necessarily
because
know
you're the
that you were
expert.
dropping a huge jewel.
Yeah, no. I mean, I'm just going by what the conversations are.
Yeah.
What
And
I
so
had
that's
with him.
why I'm presenting this, because I'm hoping that some of this might jar your memory about some details. So I put this is the last piece. This and one other slide, but the last piece I want to offer for your consideration as I'm processing it to come to my own conclusion in terms of what I think is plausible or probable. I know it's plausible, but probable regarding Ray Wood's actual participation. This is the map. All right. What's important is that, we see the Audubon Ballroom, and the main entrance of the Audubon is there on 166th Street, where the top red line is.
That's correct.
Now, there's a lot of talk about the second suspect that was caught. And Yuri Kochiyama and others identify Ray Wood as the second suspect that was caught. Well, I've been able to show that Ray Wood was the other second suspect, meaning there was 2 second suspects caught. And I'm laying this base because it's important. On 166th Street, you see 166th Street there, and then 165th Street, where the second red arrow is. It is the exit based on my reading of what Ray Wood shared with you. When the shooting began, he was in the front row. And let me switch to the second image, Brother Warren. I'm getting to it right now. This is the same, but a more detailed. Ray Wood was in the first row when the shooting started. He jumps up and he flees out the exit to the right of the stage. Is that correct?
Correct.
So that means that he exited out of the exit leading to 165th Street. That's at the opposite side of the 166th Street exit. Very important. Very important. The shooter team, the 4 of them, after shooting, fled to the back and exited out the 166th Street exit. 2 of those assassins were caught outside the 166th Street exit. Thomas Hare is one, and then there was another one. That's the second suspect. Ray Wood, when he fled out of the 165th Street exit, it was lightly patrolman Thomas Hoy who caught him and put him in a car outside the 165th Street exit. Why this is important. So now I offer the final image. This God is in the details. Now that's why this image is important. The fact that Ray Wood was Officer Ray Wood. While he's running, he's being beat up. by followers.
Correct.
They think he was involved in the assassination. Well, what made them think that? While he's getting beat, he's rescued by the angry mob from Patrolman Thomas Hoy. Thomas Hoy and Officer Ray Wood exit out of the exit by the stage leading to the 165th Street, leading to the 165th Street. What's critical about that? This man right here, hovering over Malcolm X's body with that black coat on. Langston 2X Savage, also known as Anas Lukman. Anas Lukman is a CIA asset, CIA and likely Office of Naval Intelligence asset. He is one of the Judas team, a 5-man Judas team. I identified 2 kill teams that were operative on the ground at the Audubon Ballroom. Kill team 1 is the Judas team. Those lieutenants of Malcolm X who set Malcolm X up to be killed. They are the ones responsible for his security stripping. They are the ones who gave the no guns, no search instruction. Malcolm never did. One of the key members of the Judas team is Anas Lukman. Now, he had a very significant duty on that day at the Audubon. And he reveals it in his testimony to the assistant district attorney. He says that when he arrived at the Audubon at around 1 o'clock, he helped put some chairs down, but then around 2 o'clock, he arrived at 1, helped put chairs down. At 2 o'clock, which is 1 hour before go time, 3 o'clock was a designated go time for the hit. At 2 o'clock, this CIA operative, Anas Lukman, says he got up at 2 o'clock and did something very strange that scholars couldn't make sense of. Manny Marable couldn't make sense of it. But with what you shared from your cousin, we can make sense of it. Anas Lukman says that at 2 o'clock, an hour before go time, he got up and went to the door of the exit by the stage. He made sure that it was unlocked. It was supposed to be locked. The lock was through the hasp. It was a bolt lock. The lock was through the hasp, but it wasn't connected. And he made sure that it wasn't connected. He says that when he went to that door to check and he made sure that it was unlocked, he went back to his seat. Didn't tell nobody, but his job was to make sure that door was unlocked. No one, before what you shared from Ray Wood, no one can make sense of that detail. Why did he do that? But now we know that that's the very door that Ray Wood made his escape out of. And so that says to me, there was prior knowledge. Ray knew to go out that door. Patrolman Hoy knew to go out that door, the very door the CIA operative, Anas Lukman, made sure was unlocked. So that says to me that Ray Wood, like Gene Roberts, they were involved at levels much more significant than they both confessed to. But we would not be able to say that. We would not be able to make sense of these details if you, Brother Reggie, wasn't burdened with this information, but the burden to you is a blessing to us who's trying to put the pieces together of the assassination. It's a burden to you, but what you are burdened with helps us so tremendously put pieces on the puzzle. So I'm going to leave the last words for you to share whatever you want to share. And then
I thought we were going to show we're going to show Hassan's.
Yes. So talk to us about Mustafa Hassan. Of course, I will offer something, but let me take this off. So tell the audience about Mustafa Hassan.
Mustafa Hassan is an 84-year-old man that confessed to being at the Audubon. He came forward back in March. He signed an affidavit in June that admitted to and being a witness to the assassination of Malcolm X. He was at the Audubon ballroom. Photographs and video documentation shows that he was actually there. He was close enough to the police officers in the photographs to show that he was within earshot of them, to hear them say, "Is he one of us, one of ours?" And he was talking about Thomas Hare, the admitted shooter of Malcolm X. He had him by the collar while the police, looks like it appears that they were trying to free him. And he was holding on to him. This man feared for his life. He left the country. He came back and lived in solitude or in silence, all of these years. And the police, the FBI, the DA's office, no one ever questioned him, although they knew that he was there. Months ago, he came forward when he heard about the lawsuit against the government. He heard about the lawsuit that the Shabazz family and Ben Crump and Ray Hamlin were filing against the FBI, NYPD, and the Department of Justice, the CIA, for wrongful concealment of the facts. He saw the Ray Wood information come forward. And I'm sure that he saw, when he decided to come forward, that he saw that Ray Wood lived to be 87 years old and he didn't die right away. And he saw that after I came forward, I'm still walking. So, and then those men were exonerated. They settled. I guess he figured, you know what? I can come forward because maybe I won't get killed from this, but I'm 84 years old. He probably said, hey, I need to tell this. This is important.
So for the benefit of the audience, you're referring to the most recent press conference that just took place last week.
I gave some footage of that, if we want to run that.
Brother, what's the label of the video? Brother Warren, can we play this video clip?
No, I edited this because it was very long, so I put
others surrounding Malcolm's prone body. There are photographs of myself and other individuals trying to assist Malcolm in Exhibit B. Number 18, I later observed Malcolm X being removed from the Audubon as he was placed on a stretcher and then on a gurney to be taken to the hospital. I can be seen escorting Malcolm to the hospital outside of the Audubon as I help clear the way on the street to get him to the hospital as quickly as possible. Number 20, I later discovered one of the men assisting Malcolm was Eugene Roberts, an undercover agent with the Bureau of Special Services and Investigation in the New York City Police Department, NYPD, and Raymond A. Woods, another undercover agent with BOSSI, B-O-S-S-I, in the New York Police Department, was also present at the assassination. 21. I know Eugene Roberts has stated he believed he witnessed a dry run of Malcolm X's assassination on February 15th in 1965. I can attest that there were previous attempts on Malcolm X's life, and I believe I witnessed one earlier. After police and medical officials removed Malcolm's body from the Audubon, Sister Kochiyama stated that Ray Wood is said to have been seen running out of the Audubon and was one of the two people picked up by the police. I agree with Yuri Kochiyama. Number 23, there were no uniformed policemen in or around the Audubon the day Malcolm X was murdered compared to previous speeches and events where Malcolm was present. Number 24, to this day, despite my presence inside and outside of the Audubon on the day of the assassination, law enforcement never attempted to interview or obtain a statement from me regarding what I had seen, heard, and actually did on that day. Number 25. After Malcolm's assassination, I was concerned that the lack of law enforcement's focus on myself could change to interest in myself. I became so disillusioned by what I had seen and experienced that I had made arrangements to and did leave the country for a number of months as I sought a new residence for myself and my family. This was done out of concern for my and my family's safety and where I believed the United States as a society was headed. Number 26. I am aware that NYPD officials claim that Malcolm X exaggerated assassination attempts on his life. They believe Malcolm X complaints and attempts on his life were a publicity stunt. After he contacted NYPD in July of '64, after he was approached in his car by two men when he arrived home that evening, I believe that Malcolm X's claims were valid because I personally witnessed one such attempt earlier in 1964. On the penalty of perjury, I hereby declare and affirm that the above-mentioned statement is true and correct to the best of my knowledge.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Hassan. Before you take your seat, and before we show the video and go to Q&A,
so share with us, draw out the significance that you find in Mr. Mustafa Hassan's revelation.
First of all, the historians and the people that call themselves the authorities on Malcolm X and the experts attempted to discredit me and the letter to say that it was not, it's not true. Why would Ray be at the Audubon? Why would they send him there? He was not there. He was involved in the Statue of Liberty bombing case, and he had been exposed there. Why would they send him there? All of these things. The Washington Post did a complete, I don't even know how to describe it. It was horrible. It's caused me to be threatened. It's caused me to have to deal with a lot of financial issues because they said that I was not credible. I was a fraud. All of these things, business partners and associates backed away from me. All of these things have happened because they came out and said Ray couldn't have been there. These experts, David Viola, Garrow, Rockman, everybody, and then Kelly. So what it does is it basically proves by eyewitness that had no reason to come forward that the things that were said in that letter were true. And again, I don't know why he did it. I don't know why they told him to do it. All I know is what he told me. And that's what I told the Washington Post. And they took that and they turned it into something else. I mean, they even tried to discredit me by saying that I was charged with bouncing a check in 2000. But they didn't say that the check was for $57 and it crossed paths and I didn't know about it because I moved. They didn't bother to say that. It was an effort by the Washington Post and those historians who wrote books and have work that they've been working on for many, many years. And now that this has come out, they can use their books for doorstops. That's all I'm saying. And I may seem a little bitter because I am. However, that man's testimony in his sworn affidavit proves that the information that was in Ray Wood's confession letter is based on facts. Now, him saying that he didn't know Malcolm was the target is irrelevant to the fact that the FBI and the NYPD were involved directly in the assassination of Malcolm X. And what has been in the books and these narratives, they're factually inaccurate. And, you know, some people are saying that the Nation of Islam is using me to exonerate them. It is what it is. I didn't make this stuff up. I didn't tell Ray to do what he did. I didn't tell the FBI, the NYPD to do what they did. But the facts are the facts. And I have a podcast called Facts Over Feelings. It is what it is. I'm not in
our brother's podcast.
All I know is what I was told. And that's the same thing that I explained to everyone. Now, these historians, what they should do is reach out and get the right information and fix it. That's what should be done. That's the right thing to do. And it's free. I'm not going to charge them to have a conversation with them so they can get the right information. But pride will prevent them from getting the right information. And that's sad because we're going to continue doing the same things over and over, and it becomes insanity. They want to shut me up. They want to put me into financial ruins so that their stories and their books and their narratives will continue moving forward. But guess what? I came out on the other side of that.
Allah willing, you're going to come out on top because what you are doing is so necessary. Let me agree with you that Mustafa Hassan's revelation absolutely adds tremendous credibility, verification, vindication of what you have been sharing. Indeed, the trend among the Malcolm X scholars of the Malcolm X false narrative, what I like to say, the scholars of the Malcolm X false narrative, they have not been kind to you because they want to put the genie back in the bottle. They have been trying to say, just as you said, no, Ray Wood was not at the Audubon. And so here we have not just Yuri Kochiyama saying Ray Wood was at the Audubon. We now have today Mustafa Hassan saying, yes, Ray Wood was at the Audubon. So you absolutely have trumped your critics, have given a lie to your critics. Ray Wood was at the Audubon, just as you presented when the world was introduced to you on that most important day, February 20th, 2021.
And they said, I wrote this, concocted this book. This is quoted from Abdul Rahman. I concocted this story to sell a book. Well, the problem I have with that is it's the facts. I wrote the book so that the world could know what really happened. But instead of embracing it and taking it and educating themselves, because they are supposed to be scholars or researchers or whatever they want to call themselves, instead of embracing it, they push back. And they have me, my life in danger for the last 2 years. I had to change everything that I do in my life because of this. I've been coming out of my pocket for security when I travel, when I go and speak on this, so that I can make sure that the world knows what's going on. And had they not done this to me, it would have been much easier for this information to get out to the world. Had they not suppressed it, but yet they reap the benefits of it with exonerations and more truth coming out. Because, you know, I believe this, and I'm a little biased, but I believe that if I hadn't come forward with the Ray Wood information, exonerations wouldn't have happened. The Mustafa Hassan wouldn't have come forward. Ben Crump and the Shabazz family would not be filing a lawsuit against the government, especially based on information that has been out since 2011 with Manny Marable's book. I just, maybe I'm biased because it's me and because the information was passed through me and I had to live with it for 9 years. But in 58 years, there's been no movement. There's been no movement. Then all of a sudden, you're going to tell me that a documentary made DA's office?
What do you mean there's been no movement in 58 years? We don't, because of course, William Hunter, it doesn't go back to Manny Marable, 2011. All of this effort and the identities of the shooters go back to the great work of attorney William Hunter.
I agree.
And so that was the first attempt to.
What my point is that
I just don't want you to give your critics any ammunition against
what I'm saying is that William Hunter came forward with information, that the Who Killed Malcolm X documentary came forward with information. No one was exonerated behind that information. They sat on that information. The fact that they think that Ray Wood has exposed more information than they want out there, they moved forward and exonerated these men because the confessions that he was there and worked for the FBI and the NYPD at the time, got a letter of commendation from the U.S. attorney.
What are you referring to? Who got a letter of
Ray Wood got a letter of commendation from the U.S. attorney. And
can you read his name?
The U.S. attorney. I don't have that letter in front of me.
That's not up there. Okay,
it's not up there on there. But I sent that to you.
Yeah, I was looking for it. I was looking for it again in my text, but it's not.
And the U.S. attorney congratulated him on his great work with the Statue of Liberty bombing situation. It's documented. Him testifying before the grand jury against Afeni Shakur, which caused Tupac Shakur to be born while incarcerated. It's documented. So by Ray Wood, a documented undercover police officer coming forward and saying he was at the Audubon under the orders of his handlers, you can't get more powerful evidence than that. Even though they came out against me, they knew that it was true before Mr. Hassan came forward. They knew it was true. So it was to their benefit to allow these people to continue to discredit me while they went and exonerated those men and try to push everything else that they did under the rug. The Black Panther Party, Fred Hampton, the Panther 21, all of those things Ray had his hand in. And let's not talk about the Mayflower Madam situation with all of the politicians and business people in New York that Ray was the lead detective for and brought the information and the names directly back to his bosses so they could keep them undercover. You can Google him. Ray Wood, Mayflower Madam, pulls up. Wow. He was the lead detective in that. Ray did so much dirt for them, and I don't agree with anything that he did. I'm just stating facts. Okay? This man went to his grave, and they knew that he had a lot of information, but Ray was able to convince them that he was on their side. The day, the 20 years to the year, he retired. He put his 20 years in and got out. He felt like if he had done it earlier, they would think that he had some remorse and something was going on, and he felt like they were going to take him out. Just like when he was exposed in 2015. The man wouldn't go into a restaurant without his back to the wall facing the door. And I'm having this conversation with you. People say that I'm on the side of the Nation of Islam. I'm not a Muslim. I'm not a member of the Nation of Islam. I'm not. I haven't followed the Nation of Islam, and I don't have a desire to be a part of the Nation of Islam. No disrespect. No. It's just me. I'm not. I'm a regular Christian and go to church on Sunday and do what I do.
That's important. That is a further attempt to discredit you.
And so I'm not a member of the Nation of Islam. You know, and I said one time jokingly, because somebody came after me, and I told him, I said, look, I'm eating a BLT right now. Okay? I wasn't saying that in disrespect. I wanted to clarify that. I was saying it to make a point.
Point taken.
I'm not saying the things that I'm saying because I have any affiliation or association with the Nation of Islam. I'm saying the things that I'm saying is because it's facts over feelings.
Right.
It's basic, just decency to say that regardless of what people say, about the Nation of Islam and they accuse you of something, if you know something not to be true, you should speak up. Now, people have said, and I've got some friends, and he's listening, and he knows who he is because he sent me a text message that say that there's other evidence that says the Nation of Islam was there. What I say to that is that, make sure I say this correctly, because I don't want anybody to take it in the wrong context. What I say to that is there's a lot of things that appear to be something that they're not. We just discussed Ray being in the Audubon, having an ulterior motive, and there being some other reason that he's there. There are a lot of things that appear to be something that they're not. And if people really want to get into conversations with me, I can tell you about a lot of things that have gone on after the assassination of Malcolm X that Ray Wood was involved in while he was on loaner to COINTELPRO, to J. Edgar Hoover. It'll blow your mind. If you think the Malcolm X situation is something, you should understand the other things that they did to take down the civil rights movement, the human rights movement, Black and brown people in general. And I'm disgusted by just knowing this stuff. So I hear the things that people say to me. Oh, they're just using you for this, that, and the other. Just follow the facts. Stop dealing with the false narrative. Stop taking what you saw on the Malcolm X movie. Stop listening to these people that call themselves experts and authorities. You know what the expert and the authority is? It's real life. And stop assuming based on your scholarship, I don't think he would have done this. Why would they have done this? Well, this didn't happen 30 years before that. Why would they do it this time? The typical, this is real life. We don't know what somebody's going to do one time or another. What's that girl's name that just said that she got kidnapped? And then she didn't get kidnapped? And then she admitted she didn't get kidnapped? We don't know what's happening. It's real life. Things can throw you a curveball. You don't know. So the fact that people are listening to these narratives and these historians, you got to remember, even me, I'm selling a book.
And you should buy it, family.
My book
Certainly
is
should.
about facts. It's not 300 pages long. I'm not creating a bunch of fluff and extra stuff in the book. It's a book that has the information that I have about the assassination of Malcolm X. Those guys that call themselves authorities are eating off of that. They're eating off of that. These books are giving them perpetual income. And by me coming forward, it hurts that. I'm selling a book so that I can generate the capital to produce a movie that has the truth in it. And I'm also so that I can have the proper protection when I go out to speak on the facts. That's why I sell a book. They've been making money and they're living their life off of a book for 50 years. And when something comes out that says that book is factually inaccurate, they come after me. And I have proof that they've come after me. It's documented. They have no shame. So long story short, I know I'm getting a little, what I'm saying is,
You're good.
What I'm saying is that I don't have any affiliation with the Nation of Islam. If there was some facts or proof that Ray came forward that the Nation of Islam was the assassins, and the fact that the story about Mosque 25, was true. And I get what they're saying. I get some of the stuff because I watched after having to deal with this. I watched this person. I listened to this. I listened to that, and I say, okay, does that make sense? I have to evaluate these things, and I came to the conclusion that the men from Mosque 25, after hearing what Ray was saying about how he flips informants after the Malcolm X situation, how he was sent to Oakland to flip informants, sent to Chicago to groom William O'Neill to infiltrate Fred Hampton's organization.
Wait. Hold up. I'm out.
I shouldn't have dropped that on you tonight.
Oh, no.
Almost 4 hours.
You're saying that your cousin told you that Ray Wood, he was sent to Chicago on loaner to the FBI, and he was involved, or he flipped William O'Neill?
He groomed him.
He groomed him?
He taught them what the Black Panther Party was looking for in a member that would run up the ranks quickly. The same way he infiltrated CORE and went up the ranks quickly, the same way that he went to the Black House and blended in and put the screws to people to make them informants. Use leverage of things that they could hold over their head to make them informants. He groomed William O'Neill to teach him what he needed to know to be able to get next to Fred Hampton. And he was able to do that successfully and quickly.
That's a jewel. Again, like you just dropped things and they come out of your mouth lightly, but they hit heavy.
Because, I mean, there's so much. And the more I say, people come after me. So I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I don't believe in conspiracies. It's either fact or it's not.
Well, conspiracy is a fact. It's a legal fact. And conspiracies occur. I'm not a conspiracy theorist either. I'm a conspiracy documentarian. And Malcolm X was the victim of a conspiracy that emanated all the way up to the White House.
Somebody asked what the Black House is. The Black House is a cultural center that was in Oakland that Eldridge Cleaver, Bobby Seale, and Huey Newton gathered at, and they shared ideas and they shared their views on the Black Power movement, and that's where the Black Panther Party kind of was incubated. So when he got into the Black House, he made his way through without making himself known because they sent him in to get intel on this center because they were starting to make some noise and they needed to find out what was going on. So they sent Ray out to get in and find some informants, some vulnerable people that they could leverage, to inform on the founders, and got them into the organization to be able to spy and know what was going on. That's why he was able to teach William O'Neill what they were looking for, because he sat quietly in the mix, because he was a poet, he was an orator, he was very well spoken and able to get in and be accepted into that circle. And his experience with CORE and the other organizations, he had just enough militant background to be able to get in and not be looked at as someone who shouldn't have been there.
Wow. That's a great detail.
So the things that, maybe possibly he was at the Audubon for something. I don't know. I don't know those answers. I don't. And I'm not going to sit here and say I know, because he did not tell me that.
But what he did tell you and what you are sharing is profoundly important, Brother Reggie. This was great. So we should end at 4 hours. I did not. Absolutely. It didn't feel like 4 hours.
Hey, I've got to go and speak. I'm doing a short, speaking tour to make sure that this information is out there. and I'm going to be traveling. If you guys want to hit the Cash App with whatever you want to assist me in my travels, so I don't have to continue coming out of my pocket and sacrificing the things that belong to my family so that I can tell this, it will be greatly appreciated. Either PayPal or Cash App. And that money is going to be used to make sure that this information is out. There are platforms that people are inviting me to come out and speak on, but it costs money.
How can people reach you if they want to invite you?
They can go to my website, theraywoodstory.com, and shoot me an email. And you know, and I'll be happy to come out, you know, if I have to do some background on the organization that I'm going out to just for my safety. But they have to remember that I have to pay people to protect me when I go. The transportation flights and all that, I want the word to get out. I'm in a position that I can go and do those things, but I just don't feel that. I feel this information is important enough that there should be some support in getting it out.
I would agree.
Doing the things that I'm doing and risking my life. You know, and the Cash App is right there on the screen.
Well, speak it just in case someone doesn't know what to do with
$$ RWood34. It's $ RWood34, and you know, I don't do that often, but I'm looking at my accountant is telling me, bro, you know, you're trying to save the world, but it costs money to save the world.
And it's taking a toll on you, your family.
I was in the hospital in December. They said it was a stress-induced heart episode. I was in a coma for 3 days, and they had my family in the quiet room asking them about my living will at the time. But I believe that God's not through with me yet.
That's right.
He's not through with me yet. Too. And I appreciate all of the prayers of everyone that prayed for me and helped me to recover. But it's all based on stress. And I'm going to tell you a quick little story, and then I'm going to be done with it. It happened in December 5th. It was over the Christmas holiday. And I took my grandkids, and I've got 9 grandkids. I decided that we were going to go out to the parade. This is the first time since all of this that I made a decision to take my kids out in public with me. I stressed out so much over that outing that night when I got home, I was rushed to the hospital and was in a coma for multiple days on life support because of the stress level. My temperature went up to 104 and then it dropped down to 92. And they had me on everything, had all kinds of lines and everything in me. I think you saw the picture. I'm not going to share that with everyone, but it was a horrible, frightening experience to know that this stress would take me away from my family just for trying to do the right thing. And I blame that on the people who came out against me and called me all of these names, and people in the street approach me and say, oh, you're the guy who took advantage of the Shabazz family to sell a book. And all of these crazy things that people have said and done have put me to that point.
I'm thankful to Allah that he pulled you through. And not only did he pull you out of your coma and restore you to health, but he kept your spirit alive, because you could have come out of that and determined to cease and desist.
It made me more determined to make sure that the truth was told. And I'm going to continue yelling from the highest mountain that we need to fix this in our country. We see this happening still today. And Ben Crump said it best. The past is